Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome into 104.3 The Fans Coffee Break. We've got DMac. He's here. DMac, can you hear me? We were just having technical difficulties.
You know, there's always something, Rachel. You got me? Am I good?
We're good. I'm so happy to hear your voice, DMac.
I don't know what's going on. One thing doesn't work, the other thing does. But I am a genius when it comes to technology. So I'm just going to, look, I don't want to, I got to turn on a light here, Rachel. I got to turn on some lights. You got to be able to see me, Rachel. And I got to grab, hang on, Rachel, don't do anything because we know it's coffee break. So I got to get some coffee.
Of
because
course.
I don't have any coffee, and I'll make some during the show.
All right. Well, DMac, we're just happy we can hear you. Yeah, it was weird. I actually called DMac on the phone, and we still couldn't get his audio to come through. So that's a little scary. You might be going to the Apple store like I am later today because my Apple Watch just has the Apple logo, so it's not working. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to spend a couple $100 to get a new one. I'm not
really? That's funny because I was literally just on the phone. It was working, and then it just stopped, and it was with the volume, and I couldn't keep the volume up. It keeps kind of going away.
Well,
so I don't know.
Okay, well, let's move on because if you can see underneath your name, it says potential Broncos HC. We need to discuss this. So on 9 News, our very own Mike Liss wrote an article of some Jeff Saturday-like candidates, of course, Peyton Manning being some. There can be a few names you recognize from the station on here, including Mark Schlereth coming in at number 4. You keep scrolling, some more names, Shannon Sharp, of course, Orlando Franklin. We even get down to Brandon Stokely on this list. And then you keep scrolling, and it says others, and it says DMac. It says DMac in there. So we need to talk about this, DMac. We're going to give you your first coaching application, I guess, and we want you to go through, and we're going to assess this later on. Our very own Andrew Mason is going to come on, and he's going to assess what you would change as the Broncos head coach. So let's go ahead, and we're going to add this. I'm going to be writing everything down. That way we've got a full list of everything. So let's start with the offense. Where are we changing? What's changing here?
We are giving the play calling off to my offensive coordinator.
Okay. Who's a good OC?
Brandon Stokely.
Perfect.
Am I taking this serious or am I joking around here? Well, how do you want this? How do you want this?
You know, let's go a little of both. Let's make it fun.
All right. All right. Let me go back there.
Okay.
I will do an interview process. I'm not sure who my OC is going to be, but he's going to call the plays. Play calling to the OC to be determined.
Okay. Cool. Let's see. What else would you fix offensively?
We would. Oh man, that is so tricky because we're in such a pickle, aren't we, Rachel? We would work more. Russ would have to get first downs. Russ is going to have to move. So we are going to go back to what worked in Seattle. So we're going to rip off Seattle from when it worked with Russ. And if that means moving the pocket, we'll move the pocket. If that means having to run to get first down, we'll do that. We're stuck with Russ. We really don't have a choice. So we're going to have to try to succeed as best we can.
Okay.
We are going to put KJ Hamler on the field, and he is going to touch the ball 7 to 10 times one way or the other. Now, that might be a handoff. That might be an end around. That might be a jet sweep. That might be whatever. But KJ Hamler is going to touch that football 7 to 10 times.
Okay.
Jerry Jeudy is going to touch the ball 7 to 10 times. And Cortland Sutton's going to take a back seat. That's what's going to happen. Melvin Gordon is going to be cut. Enough. Done. Well, I don't know what we're messing around. Melvin Gordon's going to be cut. How's that first start? We'll just start there.
I think people would like it. Okay, now we switch over to the defense, the strong part of this team. Yeah. What are we changing? What's changing?
Nothing. Evero's my guy. I'm not touching that. Why? I'd be a fool to touch anything going on there. Evero gets to run everything.
Okay. Special teams.
And he even gets more. Evero always. And he gets even more autonomy.
Okay. I like it. So are you looking at yourself as an offensive or defensive-minded coach?
You got to keep going. I'm not done yet.
Oh, I know, but I'm just wondering. Are you looking at yourself as an offense or defensive-minded coach?
I am a philosophical game manager as the head coach. We're going to go with my philosophy. I'm going to make sure everybody's doing their jobs. But I'm going to be the special teams head coach because I'm sick of all the crap that's been going on. And that's a big one. I'm going to be the special teams head coach. I'm going to have a good assistant. My assistant is just going to do everything I tell him to do. And that's that. And the number one job for my assistant is to make sure there's 11 guys on the field. And as special teams, Rachel, we're going to kick the ball through the end zone. We're going to fair catch basically everything. And we're going to be really super conservative. Also on special teams, we are going to go for it. This is more offense, but it has to do with special teams. Between the 40s, we're going to go for it more than ever. We're going to be more aggressive on fourth down. There was a graph that just came out today. Most points given away by not being more aggressive on fourth down. The Broncos were the worst or top in the league, because they just give away win probability because of that. And the Titans were lower. The Titans are run by Mike Vrabel, who is a player who's more willing to take chances on fourth down. So we're going to hammer the football. Our quarterback's going to run, and we're going to take advantage of more scoring opportunities and to keep drives alive. I'm not going to be afraid of letting my defense be on the field. And we're going to give it a shot like that.
Okay. So conservative but aggressive between the 40s. That's kind of what I got there.
Very aggressive between the 40s. There's almost no situation between the 40s that I wouldn't go for it on fourth down. And in terms of field goal kicking, we will take a deep analytical dive into what stadiums work, where, wind and distance and all that. We're going to have it all figured out. But we are not going to be afraid to go for it on fourth down. Not at all.
Okay. Not afraid of fourth down.
So we're aggressive offensively in that situation. But in terms of the basics of special teams, Rachel, we are extremely conservative. We are not taking chances. By the way, Montreal, Washington probably won't touch a football again. I'm going to have KJ Hamler return kicks. I was just looking at a video of Deion Sanders high-stepping it from the 50, returning a punt. I'm going to put my most impactful returners and playmakers. They're going to touch the ball more often. So I don't know if Montreal still has a job with me to keep it honest. So because I want Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler. Those are my guys. And if they get hurt, they get hurt. It's football. I'm not trying to get them hurt. I don't want them to get hurt, but I'm not going to be afraid of them playing football.
Okay, so possibly your number one or number two wide receiver, you're putting him out there to return kicks, correct?
Yeah, well, I'm putting him out there to catch the football for the most part. But if there's an opportunity in certain circumstances, for example, they're punting from their own 5-yard line. They're going to kick a missile probably to the 35. It's going to be a lower kick and give you more return possibilities, okay? So we're going to be really clear about stuff. But the vast majority of the time, we're going to fair catch. However, the guy fair catching the ball is going to be one of my best athletes that I pay a lot of money to, and he doesn't have to worry if his job is on the line if he catches the football and returns the football. He's not going to have to worry about that because he has a much more important job. So that's what we're going to do there. And every kickoff goes through the end zone, and I'm going to let Brandon McManus go for it. If it's if the situation exists, but I'm going to be more aggressive on fourth down, period. So the likelihood of Brandon McManus actually being in that situation is actually relatively small.
Okay, sounds good. Defense.
How am I doing, Rachel? You like it? You like it so far?
I'm intrigued to see how well this would work out. Let me say, there's some things I definitely agree with you, 100%. Defensively, I'm glad you're not touching anything. Let's pretend that this was before the trade deadline, though. How would you have talked to George Payton about what you liked and didn't like?
What's my record? 3-5?
Yep.
Same thing.
Yeah,
I'd do that deal. But I wouldn't have stopped there. I would have done other deals too. Unfortunately, that was the right thing to do. See, that's a tricky question, Rachel, because you have to assume I would have done everything else. I would have never signed Randy Gregory in a million years. Never would have signed him. I never would have drafted Nick Bonito. I wouldn't have done that either. I would have offered Bradley Chubb a bigger contract. I would have been more committed to Bradley Chubb, and I would have taken my chances there. But they don't like Bradley Chubb. They wanted to get rid of him, and they got a first-round draft pick. So would I have done the same deal in the same same circumstances, Rachel, I probably would have, because what else were you supposed to do? So, okay, I guess I would have done the same thing. But then again, I wouldn't be 3-5 as a head coach had you given me the beginning of the season. I mean, I would not be 3-5. And if I'm telling you this, if Russell Wilson can't get on board with what I want to do, I'll sit him and I won't have any qualms about it. Yeah, I didn't bring him on here. It would suck. I'd look at these guys like, not my fault you gave him that deal. But if he really couldn't get on board, if he wasn't using the wristband, if he wasn't doing the things that we needed him to do, I'd sit him. I would sit him. And I wouldn't have Brett Rippon as my backup either.
Who's your backup?
I would go with Josh Johnson. I think Josh Johnson was more dynamic and more interesting and compelling, and I think he can run better, believe it or not, despite the fact that he's like 100 years old. So I would go with Josh Johnson. I wouldn't go with Brett Rippon. I have no idea why Brett Rippon has that job.
You mentioned the wristband. Let's explain to people who may not know what we're talking about. So Pete Carroll was on the radio this past week, and he mentioned how there was some, let's say, resistance, I believe is the word he used, for what Geno Smith is using as the wristband. And it's working for them. The Seahawks obviously look great. And so he didn't specifically come out and say that Russell Wilson wasn't willing to try it or use it, but that's ultimately what he led it to.
I love this exercise, though. This is so fun. Yeah, the wristband thing. So Geno is working with the coaches, and I guess that implies that Russell Wilson wasn't willing to work with the coaches. I don't know about that. Listen, I'd have a good relationship with Russ. I would. I'd get rid of all the extra stuff. He wouldn't have personal coaches and parking spots, and Sierra can go to the, can use during training camp the facilities the same as all the other players and wives. And, and if she wants extra security there, I don't care. You can bring whoever you want, but you don't get a separate entrance. And if you don't like that, and if it's not good for you, then okay, fine. Don't come to camp.
Does Russ have an office?
I'm not actually opposed to that. That's not a big deal to me. But I would make that offer open to every single player on the team. I would say if you want a workspace inside of the building to do work, we'll make room for you. That doesn't bother me whatsoever. I would ask why other players on the team don't ask for their own space. Now, what do you do with that workspace? I mean, I don't think Russ should be holding meetings in there. I would tell Russ, when it comes to Tuesdays in your State of the Union meeting, that's a no-go. We can't do that, Russ. We can't put pressure on your teammates to actually meet at the facility to do something above and beyond. We have to respect a certain process and their privacy. I'm all for guys doing work or being on group text or whatever, but we got to lay this out, Russ, one step at a time. And it's got to come from the coaches. Now, if you want to be part of that process, I got no problems with that whatsoever. So if you want to come in on Tuesday when the coaches and I are putting things together, sure, why not? You are the most important player on our entire team. But the amount of privileges that I'm going to give you are just going to be tempered by what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. And we're not going to do things to isolate you from your team. Okay. And if you're like up in your office when everybody's down in the locker room, I'm going to kick you out of your office. I mean, like that's not the place to be. But I'm not against people wanting to work and having a place to work. No, I'm not against that at all.
Schedule. What's schedule looking like for you?
They're
the small details you got to think about.
Listen, I'm not going to ignore the things I've heard from so many ex-players. See, I'm taking this pretty serious now.
I know.
So we're going to go back to 7-on-7s, 1-on-1s. We're going to go back to competitive periods. We're going to match up Cortland Sutton against Patrick Surtain. We are going to play football. We missed out on a lot of these reps in the preseason. We're going to play football. And by the way, I'm just going to get to it. We are not going to have a field day. And I'm going to tell them why we're not having a field day. We're not having a field day because we didn't earn a field day. Now, if you guys just want to work hard, you could earn a day off. And I'll just send you home from the last OTA early. But we're not having a field day. However, we are having dinners. We are getting together. We are having a laugh at things. We're having fun. But guess what, too? I'm taking the basketball net out of the team room. It's just inappropriate. You don't need it there. You already shoot out all the muggles from their place for more Papa Shot and pool games. We don't need to send a message in the main team room that there's a basketball hoop in there, which there is right now. So we're going to be kind of clear with our messaging that there's time for play and time for work. And field days are absolutely done. Done. No field days. And by the way, no real days off, no hat days, no nothing. What have we accomplished? We have to earn those things. And right now, this team hasn't earned any of it. You want to sway me win some playoff games, earn it. Let's have some team leaders talk to me about why it matters, and we'll have that conversation. So it's not going to be some sort of screaming at you, yelling, mean-spirited sort of thing. It's going to be a lot of open communication. But you earn privileges. You're not just giving them, Rachel, and these guys need to earn them.
I love it. People in the comments said, love it. I honestly believe you'd be better than 3-5, DMac. This is a good roster. Okay.
Well, because I would be completely focused on the game as it's happening. And I would have somebody advising me analytically on stuff, but I wouldn't need it that much because I would already have philosophically how I'm going to approach things anyway. And here's what else I would do. I would spend more time with my own coaches at the stadium on headsets, practicing game situations without the players. Seriously, I would do that. I would go to the stadium probably once or twice at night. We would do it every day, by the way. We would practice situations as a staff every day. But I guarantee you we would spend a night or two out at the stadium going through it and just having simulated situations thrown at us so we can all see it, hear it, and call it ourselves. So that's what I would do with the schedule. So yeah, it'd be a little bit more work, but we got to get those reps. We got to video game this thing up, and we are going to hammer end of half and end of game situations. Hammer them, Rachel. We're going to repeat those so much, just like the Avalanche. Practice the power play and penalty kill every single day. We are going to do that with end of game, end of half.
Okay, sounds good. Well, we need to get an assessment on this. We bring in our very own Andrew Mason. He's going to give you a little grade here, DMac. So, Mace, first of all, how are you this morning?
I'm all right. How are y'all doing?
Good. I'm sure you heard the rant, and so I'm curious to we're going to kind of go one by one on how you think this would roll out. Sound good to you?
Let's do it.
All right. So, first of all, play calling is going to his OC. His OC still hasn't been determined. DMac, if you had to pick just someone right now off the top of your head, who are you going with?
To keep it serious, I would go with Clint Kubiak, and I would try to hire Gary Kubiak to be in the booth with him. I would hire Gary. Well, that's who I'd hire. I'd freaking hire Gary Kubiak, okay? If we're just taking it from today. And I'd have him work with Clint. I'd figure it out between the two of them.
Okay. Mace?
Well, to hire Gary Kubiak, you got to get through Rhonda Kubiak. And so I'm not sure that's going to be as viable. I would go with Clint Kubiak because he's got the experience. And in general, I don't necessarily like it when a head coach is trying to call plays if the head coach can't handle the overall game management.
Check. I got that done. Check.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like separating it. And what we've seen, all the procedural stuff, the delay of games all over the place. I've seen enough in terms of basic game management issues to where I say this needs to be divided. The play calling needs to be in the hands of one person, and overall management of the team needs to be the hands of the head coach. Do what John Fox did. When Foxy first became a head coach, he was a defensive guy. He said, there's so much to handle that I'm just going to coach the team, and I'm going to leave the play calling to my coordinators. And I think that's the wisest course of action.
DMac, are you keeping Jerry Rosberg, or is he gone?
Gone. I don't need him. I don't need a dad. I don't need somebody who is philosophically dictating my philosophy. I don't need it. I'm the best game manager. It's my philosophy. To think that Michael Malone or Jared Bednar has somebody upstairs telling him what to do is ridiculous. It's not that I wouldn't have other people that I would work with, but I don't need Jerry. Bye-bye. See you, Jerry. Didn't want you here in the first place.
Okay, moving on. Russ will have to move what worked in Seattle. So you're going to kind of copy the Seattle game plan, correct?
Yes.
100%. I mean, right now the Broncos have 3 wins, and in 2 of them, there were significant fourth quarter drives that involved Russell Wilson moving the chains, converting third downs by taking off and running. All right. The improv, going beyond the play structure, maybe it's not what he wants to do because he's focused on playing till 43, but I'm focused on maximizing what he is at age 33, at age 34. Okay. And that means getting back to things that get him beyond the structure and telling him, look, it is okay to take off and run for 10 yards when everybody is covered and move the chains. And that's going to give the defense extra something to think about.
It's not just okay. It has to be done. If it's not, the rest of the offense is going to work. Gotta happen.
Yeah.
All right. KJ and Jerry Jeudy will touch the ball 7 to 10 times. Do we like it, Mace, or no?
Love it. I think maybe even a little bit more than 10 times. I'm playing KJ Hamler a lot more coming out of the bye. We're halfway into the season. He's played 6 consecutive games since he was inactive for week 2. He's played a bit more as we've gone on over the course of the year. I know you're maybe still concerned about the after effects of last year's injury, but he's an explosive player. He needs to be involved more, and probably he needs to be involved more maybe at the expense of Courtland Sutton, who just isn't delivering right now. And in particular, as I talked about with Will Peterson last night on the Denver Fan PM edition, not delivering as a blocker right now. It's not just my eyes. It's not just Will's eyes. It's Pro Football Focus's eyes that are giving him low run blocking grades. Something is amiss with Courtland Sutton. I'm giving KJ more reps, mostly at Sutton's expense.
If we had to take a guess at what we think it is going on with Courtland Sutton, what's your guess, Mace?
My guess is twofold. It's a combination of not being as involved as he'd liked, but also not being the same receiver since he tore the ACL, because he is a contested catch guy. He didn't have a lot of pure speed to spare, and clearly that's been taken down a notch since the injury, because you can draw a line in his production over his career before the ACL and after the ACL. These are 2 different players right now.
I'll give you a more specific reason too, and Nick Kosmider did a great job writing about it in The Athletic. The more effective defense against Russell Wilson is his own defense, not man-to-man. The more effective defense for or defense to go against for Courtland Sutton is man-to-man for 50-50 ball. Actually, I take that back. More effective for him would be zone. My bad. Would be zone. But zone is all about timing passes. And that would work out great for Courtland Sutton, because if you can time it out, he can find those spaces. But to Mace's point, his athleticism has gone down a notch. So against man-to-man, he just isn't quite as explosive. And when there is man-to-man, rightfully so, I think Russell Wilson is now looking towards Jerry Jeudy or KJ Hamler, because there's just more open space there and the ball isn't being challenged. So I think there's a physical reason, but there's a schematic reason as well, that it's just not working out for Courtland Sutton. And Russell wanted to work out with Courtland Sutton. He had 14 targets in the last 2 games with only 3 receptions. So it's not like they're not trying. It's just that it's not working, and it's unlikely to work.
This is going to be a really interesting conversation when we get to next year as well, because Tim Patrick's coming back. And I'd say right now, I'm not sure there's room for both Tim Patrick and Courtland Sutton in what you're trying to do offensively.
I would probably look to trade Courtland Sutton in the offseason.
All right, you heard it here first from potential Broncos HC, DMac. Okay, moving on. Melvin Gordon, he's gone. Peace out. Mace?
Every running back that you have right now is an incomplete jigsaw puzzle. Melvin Gordon has had ball security problems this year. Latavius Murray, he's productive within the tackles. He's probably not as explosive as he was early in his career. I mean, we're talking about a 9-year veteran. Marlon Mack hasn't been the same since injury struck him a couple of years ago. And Chase Edmonds is basically a third down back who can protect the passer. But because of that, I'm just figuring it out with these 4 guys. I'm trying to recreate Javonte Williams in the aggregate with these 4. So I'm keeping Melvin Gordon. You're on the hook for his salary anyway, because you're a vested veteran.
You're missing it, Mason. I'll talk to you in the coach's room. You know, it's not even about that. We've got to hold guys accountable. And it's not like he's a bad guy. It's like in Moneyball when they cut Jeremy Giambi, not Jason Giambi, Jeremy. Said, Jeremy, you're a nice guy and everything. It's just not working out. Melvin, you're a nice guy and everything. It's just not working out. You've got to send some sort of message to the rest of the team about being accountable. And the message there is, fellas, we can't have these fumbles. The end. And if it scares you a little bit, it scares you a little bit. But enough of the gravy train. And it's a bigger reason why he's got to go.
You should have done that earlier, though. Because it wasn't.
I just got the job.
Yeah,
I just got the job.
Because it wasn't done earlier, you can't really do it now. I mean, what about giving a fresh start? I mean, that's one thing. If I'm taking over as coach, I'm saying, okay, it's going to be a little bit of a fresh start here. Let's, come back to 0.
Fresh start. No. Shock and awe. We're taking down the basketball hoop. We're cutting Melvin Gordon.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Shock and awe. How well did that work?
All right. So DMac will be the special teams HC. You'll be the special teams coordinator. What do you think?
Well, because I'm not in general in favor of the head coach being a coordinator, I'm keeping Dwayne Stukes. And actually, that's probably why I'm keeping Jerry Rosberg. And I'm saying, hey, you know what? It's going to be Thunderdome here. Jerry Rosberg, Dwayne Stukes. You guys show me who should be the special teams coordinator.
You got to put this in context. I'm also going to be the most conservative special teams ever in the history of the NFL. I won't need a coordinator. And I did say I would have an assistant to make sure we had the right number of guys on the field. So it's not like there wouldn't be somebody sort of, caretaking that, but we would philosophically have such a radically different approach. I don't need to waste my time with that. And by the way, we would barely practice special teams. We might have a period or two a week because we're not worried about it. We're kicking the ball out of bounds through the end zones, fair catching everything. I mean, it's crazy how conservative we're going to be.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You can do that when you've got everything functioning right on offense and defense. The Broncos, this offense isn't great. They don't have the luxury of just effectively, metaphorically speaking, punting special teams.
I'm going to have a great punter. I'm going to have a great punter. I'm going to have a great kicker. Those two guys are doing good. I'm going to have a great snapper. I'm going to have things that matter, and that's it. It's a wrap. We're not, Mace, we're not worried about it. We're spending too much time talking about it right now.
Wait, you've had 2 place kicks get messed up by the hold and the snap already this year, so I don't know that we've got everything functioning the way it needs to.
Well, they can work on that, but what am I going to do there anyways? There's not much more I can do than have them practice their silly jobs. By the way, I'm not keeping them around the facility when they don't need to be there. I don't need Brandon McManus dressing up as a referee. You're bored, son? Hit the road. Go home. I don't even need to see you. You don't even need to be there. And that I would take care of foolishness like that. I wouldn't waste time with things that don't need to happen. If you're sitting around doing nothing dressed up in a referee outfit, you can go home because I'd rather not have the distraction.
Well, I don't object to that in theory because back in the day when Jason Elam was kicking, you know what he'd often do during practice? If it was a downtime, he'd go play Golden Tee.
Fine. I don't give a crap what you do. Get off my field. I don't need you there. I need you there by the way, I'm not going to waste these guys' time. We are going to be so efficient with our time. It is ridiculous. But when we do practice, and we are going to practice, we're going to do 7-on-7s and 1-on-1s. We're going to have full contact and thud practices during the season. When that happens, I expect you to bring it. And guys may get hurt doing that. I don't care. That's how you have to get ready to play football. But if you're not doing anything, see ya. Enjoy your time off. And I will vigilantly talk to these guys about their social media and what they're doing out there and the images that they're pumping out. I am not restricting your First Amendment, your freedom of speech. I don't believe in that whatsoever. But I at least want to be on the same page as to why you're doing what you're doing. So guess what? I am sitting Russell Wilson down. I am telling him, hey, man, during the season, I don't want to see a tweet or a message from Team 3. I don't want to see it. If you want, like today, he put something out about his dad, and I thought that was wonderful. Actually choked me up a little bit. Russell Wilson lost his dad at a very young age. Now, I have no problems with him sharing that if he feels like that's something he wants to communicate to his fans, and I'm fine with that, okay? But don't follow that up selling hats the next day. Don't give me something disingenuous. We're going to work on what we're doing and the image that we're putting out there because these guys do so much good. It's ridiculous. And the Broncos, good department, the special projects department is outstanding. We're going to keep that, by the way. We are keeping everything they do there because they do such a good job in that department.
We got a comment that said, DMac with a common sense approach to coaching. Love it. Mace, if you had to grade DMac or if you were a GM, would you hire him?
Well, he's never been a head coach before.
I have been, though.
In football.
So what? But I have been a head coach. Here's what I got. I have been a head coach on several different levels, youth level, but all the way from high school to 6-year-olds, okay? I actually have done that.
So you're as qualified as Jeff Saturday.
Well, and I've run Mace. More importantly, I have run my own nonprofit organization that oversaw 17 teams over 4 years. We had to organize, and it's not just kids. It's organizing all the adults. I've had more than a dozen coaches under me. I've had to manage a staff. I've had to manage a budget. I've had to work on schedules and uniforms and imaging. And I had a banquet at the end of the year at Mile High Station, by the way. Think about that for a second. It's a youth baseball organization having their end of year banquet, not in a cafeteria someplace, but at Mile High Station. And it was freaking cool what we did, okay? We gave away $1,000 scholarships if you did 80 hours or more of community service while you were in high school. To our kids, that program was available to our kids from 10 years old to 14 years old, and we followed through high school, and we gave away more than $20,000 to a variety of kids that did that sort of public service. So at least I've run something, okay? I have. I swear to God, I've run something and was in charge of more people than Nathaniel Hackett ever was, ever. And
Okay.
I've worked in radio with an organization working with many, many people for more than 30 years. I have worked and I've studied sports all that time. So
Okay.
don't tell me I'm not qualified to be in charge of people.
Show me the other. Can I get the graphic with all the bullet points there real quick?
Absolutely. Hold on one second.
All right. Okay.
Here we go.
All right. KJ's not afraid of fourth down. You know what? I agree with that. And I think with fourth downs, almost every decision should be made before you go in. That you've got,
we already know it.
Yeah, you already got everything evaluated
know
analytically. Right.
We already know it.
KJ Hamler returning kicks. No, I'm not risking him there. It's funny that you want to dismiss special teams and yet you want KJ Hamler out there potentially getting hurt returning kicks.
I'm not afraid, Mace, of football players getting injured. That is not freaking me out. And KJ Hamler is going to be there theoretically, for the most part, to catch the football. If he has to return it every now and then, fine. But I might put Jerry Jeudy back there. I just want somebody who's going to catch the football. And I don't want them worried for their job. Montrell Washington, the rest of these people that go out there and only have one job to return kicks are pressing. We lost a game this year because of special teams. We gave away a game in overtime because we couldn't figure out a conservative way to catch a football. That's never going to happen with me.
All right. No special treatment. Yeah, I'm down with that. Russ can keep his office. He's got to earn that office back. But I say this as somebody personally who begged and pleaded for an office where I could close the freaking door at Dove Valley for a number of years and I didn't get it. So I'm not giving him an office if I didn't get an office.
But Mace, again, look what I said. He can keep his office. That's open to all players. Whoever wants an office can have an office.
Peyton Manning had an office. It was the QB meeting room.
Whatever.
Okay.
If somebody wants a place to work, I will give, and I'll make that clear. If you guys want a space to work, I will make sure you have a space to work if you need to spend more time here. We give you free breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you need a workspace, you got it. It doesn't have to just be Russ. It could be anybody. I will figure that out. I'll build a new building of offices. I'll bring in trailers if need be. I will do whatever it takes so that you feel comfortable at work.
Maybe a new facility that Greg Penner and Rob Walton build.
Of course, that's going to happen.
So build individual offices for every player, every staff member. Okay.
Anybody who wants one.
Well, if it's equal, then okay, I'm fine with that. And then no field day. You know what? I think players would appreciate a day off at the end of OTAs more than a field day. So if they've earned it, just say, go to Cabo, go to Vegas a day early. Let's not sit around shooting baskets on the field and all that.
And that's
a reward.
That's exactly what I said too. And guess what? If you don't earn it, you're not going to have it.
Yeah.
Tough luck. And if we got to work, and by the way, on that last day, we're going to work, man. We're not wasting time. If we're there to work, we're going to work. I won't have you there. This game gets to Brandon McManus and the referee. You're not going to be at my practice if there's not a significant reason to be there. It's not happy fun time. We'll go bowling on the weekends. We will. We'll have dinners. We'll play paintball. We'll go to laser tag and then watch the Avalanche. But we're not going to waste their time.
Yeah, I got so. And the other thing is like hat days, no pad days. You know what? You got to earn that. Remember Victory Monday with Mike Shanahan?
Earn them.
You had to earn it to get the Victory Monday. You had to do well over time to get those hat days.
If you don't earn it, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You can't be Justin Outen and saying, "Hey, are the Raiders a rivalry game?" Well, every game's a rivalry game. Well, if you say every game's a rivalry game, or you say every game's a must-win, that means no game is a must-win and there's no rivalries because everything is equal. I understand every single football game is very, very important, okay? I already get that. We're going to be a lot clearer on our messaging too.
Okay, so after this conversation,
by the way, here's one more thing I'm going to do.
Okay,
I'm getting rid of that extra playroom. We don't need it. The media should be back in there. They should be closer to the facility. You can't treat the media in a windowless bunker as if it's 1952 and there's nukes that are going to rain down on our heads. Let's make things good and accessible. And the media is also going to have access to our cafeteria for food, coffee, and drinks because I want a nice environment for everybody to be there.
Okay.
DMac is fired up, as you can tell. He's ready for his interview with George Payton.
And on Monday, when I meet the media, I'm not standing at a podium. I'm sitting in a circle.
Fireside chat, the Mike Shanahan fireside chat.
I'm going to have the fireside chat, and nobody is going to rush me away from it. And if we want to sit there for an hour, we will sit there for an hour. I will also call media people by their first name. I'll get to know them, and I'll spend more time with them like I did, like John Fox did, to get to know them. So we don't have this adversarial sort of thing. And maybe there's messages I need to pass along through the media, and I'm going to treat the local media better than I'm going to treat the national media.
That's something that's long been a problem around here. I'll say that.
Yeah, no kidding. Some tea right there, DMac. All right.
So GM Mace with DMac, at the very least, you're getting a second interview with me.
We'll take it.
We'll talk more. We'll go to Los Dos and we'll talk further about all this.
All right, give me the one question you would ask me at my second interview. You already know all this stuff. So what's the one question you would ask me at the second interview?
How do you engender credibility with the players when you haven't been a football player?
That's a very fair point. What I'm going to do is be very concise and direct, and they will respect that. If you're concise and direct, you don't come from a place of fear, you come from a place of communication, then you are Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick, Tom Landry. I mean, there's tons of guys that never played football that were great head coaches.
But they at least played to college, though. That's the thing. Like a lot that's the thing.
Daniel never played to college. Looks like he played at Yale. Actually, I take that back. He didn't play at Yale. Well, I don't know. They're gonna have to trust me at my word on that. But I think that's Mace. I think that's first of all. You know what I may say to you? Yeah. That's a ridiculous question. I'm sorry, Mr. GM, because you're telling me that a woman couldn't be a football coach? I think a woman could easily be a head football coach.
She could have played football. There's women's football leagues out there. She could have played.
What do I need to show you my punt, pass, and kick trophy from when I was in second grade or third grade in Mrs. Stanko at Steamboat Springs? I can if you need me to do that.
Did you ever play football ever?
I played tag football and all that sort of stuff, but I was a darn good soccer player.
I mean, if I were being interviewed, that's the question I'd have to answer because I didn't play high school football.
Hey, you know what I'd say to you? If that's really your concern, I'm not your guy. But if you want a team to be managed the right way and things done the right way and people to be treated the right way, I am your guy. But I'll pay for this bill at Los Dos if somehow playing, safety in high school when I was a sophomore means more than like managing 17 teams over 4 years.
I'd have a lot more questions, but that would be like my first one.
We wouldn't get. If that's your first question, then we're in trouble.
No.
By the way, I am convinced.
I'm testing to see your reaction as well as the GM. I'm testing temperament here.
Listen. The players don't care about the coaches, the head coaches, football past, because the vast majority of coaches, are never as equal as their current players. Some are. Mike Vrabel is one of them. Okay. But that doesn't mean anything if he's a jerk coach. Brian Shaw played in the NBA forever. He was one of the worst coaches the Nuggets could have ever had, and Michael Malone certainly didn't play in the NBA. Who would you rather have, Brian Shaw or Michael Malone?
But Michael Malone can't play college ball, right? That's the thing. Like I don't
know. Who cares? Yeah. Man, we're not passing out resumes at our first team meeting.
All right. We're getting distracted a little bit. Our show's about to end, but I do want to have Mace talk about this offensive line because they can just not get healthy. So Mace, you gave me a crazy stat yesterday talking about this offensive line. Hit us with it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at how many games that guys is in the six names are up there. Turner's missed 5 games. Minor's missed 4 games. Cam Fleming's already missed 1 game. Could miss this one. He's day-to-day. Cushenberry's out for at least 4. Compton's missed 8. Garrett Bowles has missed 3. So you look right there. You've already had 21 man games missed along the offensive line to this point. Now, that being said, Cushenberry's the latest on IR. I don't necessarily think this hurts the offense. I thought Graham Glasgow played quite well when he came in for Cushenberry. He didn't allow pressure by my film evaluation, by Pro Football Focus's own evaluation as well. So I like what I saw from him. And I think this particular injury doesn't hurt the offensive line, but at the same time, it's a group that hasn't been able to generate any kind of cohesion and chemistry. And how often do you hear that from O-linemen that getting chemistry, getting the timing right, getting the communication right, it's crucial for the overall unit to perform. And the Broncos haven't been able to have that so far this year, and this has been part of their problems up front.
Coach DMac.
I'm just pissed I'm not getting this job. I can't get over that.
Wait a second.
I know.
You only got through one question. The phone.
But you made me lose my cool. I was all over the place. I lost the job.
But you know what? It's a long interview. It's a long second interview. Part of what I want to see is how you respond. I want to see resilience. I want to see the kind of mentality that when you're down 10-0 is going to help rally the team together and bring it back, because you're going to have adversity.
I gave up. I'm just thinking about what coach I'm going to blame at my press conference afterwards. Let's see, who could I throw under the bus? Is Rich Scangarello available?
Oh, he's at the University of Kentucky, and actually,
he's him.
Yeah. Well, Billy Muss is at Cal, and both Billy Muss and Skangs are under some fire at their college jobs right now.
DMac, if it doesn't work out for Jeff Saturday, you can give it a shot in Indianapolis too. You never know.
I just love this Jeff Saturday thing for so many reasons, because it's so freaking kooky that how do you absolutely positively not love it? I mean, this is like, it is close, borderline Ted Lasso sort of story right here. I mean, I love it. Irsay is a kook, and it's going to be fun to watch the rest of the year.
Mace, last one for you and for our show. It says, we actually got this question at the top of the show. What are the chances of Frank Reich as a consultant for the Broncos?
As a consultant, I don't see that happening. If they do move on from Nathaniel Hackett by the end of the season, I wouldn't surprise me if he is on the interview list to be a head coach. But there's not a great deal of connection there, and I think I can't really see that happening at this point.
He wrote his resume, Rachel, and he wanted to bring in one old stiff quarterback after another. He just is not with. I mean, we are Phillip Rivers. Carson Wentz is a little bit different, but he went for the mat with him. And then you brought in Matt Ryan. I mean, you really thought Matt Ryan was going to work out. You paid $20 million a year to a guard. I mean, their priorities in terms of what they deem as important are so weird that no, I don't want. And I love Frank Reich. I covered Frank Reich back in Buffalo. Seems like a great dude, but that is the wrong mindset. I don't want that anywhere near my team.
Ownership mentality, though, is one reason why they kept spinning the wheel on these veterans, though. And I wonder if he'd been in a more patient situation, if he would have made a different choice.
Whose choice was it to bring Matt Ryan in?
That was an organizational choice. That wasn't just Frank Reich making that call.
Well, I'm sorry that Frank Reich had to go down with that ship, but that's, as far as I can tell, that's what they're blaming.
I mean, the original sin of all this is Chris Ballard wanted Josh McDaniels instead of Mike Vrabel. They interviewed Mike Vrabel, by the way, and he decided he wanted McDaniels. Then McDaniels backed out, and Frank went to their backup choice, which was Frank Reich, who actually did okay. But the Colts are sitting there in the AFC South looking at the coach that they interviewed and was probably their runner-up and who they could have hired, sitting there with Tennessee launching up one playoff season after another.
Oh, King Henry, man, and the Broncos will face them this week. It's going to be a make or break game for this season. Mace, DMac, can't thank you both enough. DMac, I'd give you my vote. I'd love to see what the fans think, and we'll find out later today.
Listen, I challenge all the other people at the Fan who are on that list to do a better job in that job interview process than I did right there. I challenge them. I would put up what I did right here against Stink, Orlando. Who was mentioned? Stink, Orlando, Chad, and Stokely. I challenge them to do a better job presenting what they would do rather than what I would do. Good luck.
I love it. All right. That's going to do it for Coffee Break today. Make sure you tune in 3:30 p.m. for Orange and Blue Today with Mace and Cecil. And we'll see you guys back tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Bye, everybody.